Facebook. Hope everyone's doing well. It is Tuesday. What's up, YouTube? It's Tuesday, January 18th. Glad you could join today. We're back on track here for our weekly Q&A. I'm going to get Instagram going so we can have the full party. I hope you're having a great week, a great Tuesday. Let's see here. Live. Get that rolling. It's going, and we're live now also on Instagram. So glad you could all be here today. See some people rolling in. Hello, hello. It's the first day of our spring semester at UNT, so we're back in the saddle and looking forward to a productive semester. I hope you're having a productive day wherever you are. So feel free to drop in your comments, questions, concerns in the chat box down on Instagram, or of course in the comments section, and I'll pull them up and we'll get to as many questions as we can during this time together this afternoon. What's up, Mr. Mandalorian? What's up, Trevor? What's up, Ryan? What's up, Nick, Pino? What's up, Fritz, Connor, Ricardo? Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Whoops. Got my coffee, and we'll get to some questions. I hope you guys have, started thinking about some new plans, some new goals for new things that you want to work on this spring. What's up, BJ? I see he's here on YouTube. We're getting into things. We did a nice live stream last night. What's up, Augie? Last night with some of the students. If you didn't know, on Monday nights I've been doing some live streams from my office here. And what's up, Diego? We played a bunch of arrangements of standards. So, I always like to talk about like how great piano trios like Oscar Peterson, like Ahmad Jamal, they had just like great arrangements of standards that they were able to like go to. And it wasn't just like calling a tune and just playing a tune. It was like a real arrangement, and it was something cool that they could go back to again and again. And so for me, that's like something I wanted to get together. So we played a couple things. So if you want to go find that on the internet, on the YouTube channel, the stream is there, but of course we'll be sharing that as we go. What's up, Alton Sinclair? How are you, man? BJ's got a question here. Let's jump in. I see some coming in on Instagram as well, and we'll go to that. Let me pull this one up as well. All right, BJ first. Have you ever played the Arbutus Book? Yes. What pages do you suggest to play in the Arbutus Book? I just started looking into it. I'm not a huge Arbutus Book person. I don't have like the master list of Arbutus exercises, but you know who does is Alex Isles, Alexisles, a great trombonist who works out in a lot of the film stuff out in LA, and he plays jazz, he plays classical. He's killing. He's a great teacher, very, very thorough pedagogue, as they say. So I would check out his Arbutus method. He's got like this whole thing. So that would be like the most direct thing I could give you, would be to go and check that out, because he's got a very, very, very thorough routine out of the Arbutus Book. So some things that I know that I pull out of the Arbutus Book are, I like the characteristic studies in the back. Use those oftentimes. Carnival of Venice, trying to get like the technical, clean kind of articulation. And then there's like some of the exercises where you return back to the home pitch. I don't know what numbers they are. Somebody probably knows that's watching this and can put them in the comments. But it's like... this kind of thing. So you can do that kind of thing, and then you can do it like with a pedal tone. Anyway, some of those sort of things. I've had some students work on Carnival of Venice and other things when it's like, all right, we need to just get some dexterity together. That's like a good place to go, I feel like, the Arbutus Book. But I've never played it front to back. Never. Here's another related question from Richard. How you doing, Richard? Claude Gordon Book. If so, what are your thoughts on it? How do you approach each exercise? No, I haven't gotten that deep into it. James Burton, he showed me a couple exercises from that book last time. Actually, when he came to UNT a couple years ago, in the pre-pandemic times, he came down and did a master class for the lecture series, and yeah, it was super cool. So. No, I don't have the class. I kind of think everyone should investigate all these books, and you have to kind of pick out different things to kind of work on what you need to work on. I don't think there's like a one solution, you know, like there's a lot of solutions, a lot of different ways to work on the same things. And so I break it down into 3 categories and try to hit them every day, which is sound, articulation, and flexibility. And so there's a million ways to do it, and there's a million nuances to, you know, any one of those things. But that's generally how I approach it. And I never play one whole book, you know. I usually have one exercise for this, one exercise for that, this kind of thing. So, but you got to investigate a lot to figure out, you know, what works for you. So, but the Claude Gordon thing is just like doing some stuff down into the pedal register. I think maybe just major triads down into the pedal register. About keeping the horn set on your face, I think. It's been a while. But yeah, okay. From Trevor, I'm about to play for the first time in a month. Any tips for getting back on the horn? Yeah, sure. So anytime after I take a long break, I try to play long tones, play music, right? So I don't just play a bunch of technical exercises. I try to play songs, melodies, long tones. I usually find that if I've taken a really long break, that the first thing to go is like endurance and centeredness, or like the foundation of my sound, like the core. That's the word I'm looking for. The core of my sound. And so if that's feeling fuzzy, then I do 2 things. One is whisper tones, I've explained before. You can find a video online about me talking about whisper tones, but whisper tones and pitch bends are 2 things, and then doing obviously long tones, and but it kind of takes some of the Caruso kind of thing, and I don't know the full Caruso thing, and I don't want to make a suggestion that's going to hurt you, but the thing where there's like an idea of keeping the horn on your face so you don't reset your chops all the time, especially for getting better endurance. So you got your setup, right? And even if I'm talking, it's moving around, right? So it's not really what I'm talking about. But if I play, and then breathe through my nose without moving, and you play like a long tone exercise like that with keeping your mouth on the mouthpiece, doing long tones in the upper register, it kind of helps to build up the musculature to be able to develop that kind of endurance and such. So that's one thing that I do, and so that's kind of coming from the Caruso world of trumpet stuff. So there was a great trombonist in New York that I used to play with named Sam Burtis, and he used to talk about some of that stuff as well. And but yeah, pitch bends, long tones, whisper tones. That's what I would recommend. If you've taken a break and you're coming back, those are the things that I go to first. And playing music. Okay, let me see what this is. Mr. Mandalorian says, will you critique my playing? Give me a... Yeah, sure. Go to my website and you can purchase a lesson, and I'd be happy to. What vinyl do you have right now on your record player? Oh, right here? Let's see. I think it's Ugetsu is what's actually in the record player. But these were the covers got ruined. The jackets, rather. So this is Gillespiana, Dizzy Gillespie. What else we got here? Holst, The Planets. Kid Ory, Tiger Rag. What is this? Oscar Peterson Trio +1, your favorite, Alan. And Jack Teagarden and his trombone. This is killing. But these were in my grandparents' basement, and I had left them there. And yeah, what's on here is Ugetsu, the Art Blakey record, Ugetsu. The jackets, anyway, there's a flood, and the jackets got all moldy, and so I had to throw the jackets away, but I wanted to save the vinyl, so that's why there's no stuff there. There's more vinyl somewhere else, over there. I got this one too. I know you like this one. Harrison Blanchard. This one's killing. And then this John Coltrane, this new one, this new old vinyl. Oh no, it won't go back in place. Jeez. Oh well. Just leave that there. Okay, so that's a good record too. Okay, there's that. And there's a question over here, something about altered scales from Richard. Where's my mouse? Okay, here we go. Let's see. Richard asks, how do you approach incorporating the altered scale into your vocabulary and tunes that you're playing? Well, the altered scale is the same as the seventh mode of melodic minor. So, first of all, I like to think about, what's up, Ron? It's the seventh mode of melodic minor, so you got to learn like all the modes of melodic minor. So, for example, when you see a C7 altered, that's D flat melodic minor, and if I have to like be tied in and feeling like, oh my God, D flat melodic minor, I don't know what to do with that. That's the first step, right? Is to say, okay, I need to get familiar with my melodic minor scales so that when I see, D flat melodic minor, I don't freak out. So, but most of the time when I use the altered scale, it's to play on a 5 chord, The altered scale starts off like diminished, right? If you don't know what it is, it's, and then it's whole tone at the top. And then, you play it on 5 chords and you resolve to 1. So if it's a C7 and going to F, I'll say like, oh, let me play a fragment of that scale and try to resolve it to F. Or so I don't really think about it as like one thing. It's like it's a lot of things. It's a sound and it's one approach. It's one way to go 5 to 1, the altered scale. So I guess how would I get it into my playing more is, one, to have more comfort with the mode itself, the altered scale, and then the second would be to have a tune where you're working on, and you're saying, okay, when I get to these 5 chords, I'm gonna use the altered scale and I'm gonna practice it. You could transcribe some lines. There's a million YouTube videos you can go and find of altered lines or whatever. And then I would try to plug and play. That's what we do. That's my approach. It's like, okay, here's a tune, here's the blues, right? And there's a 2-5 in the 9th, 10th bar, 2, 5, 1. So in bar 10, I'm going to play that line. And so once I got that, I say, okay, where else in the blues could I put it? Well, I could put it in the 4th bar of the blues, setting up the 4 chord. And then I transpose it so that I play that same line. And then I improvise the first 3 bars, play that line, and then we're in the 5th bar. And so I play that line into the 5th bar. And then I do the same thing. I improvise until I get to the 10th bar where I initially played that line, and I'll play the line there, and then kind of stuff like that. And so take it from there and move into other tunes. For me, I think there's no better way to develop vocabulary than learning it and then putting it right into practice. So that's that part. Like, you can take a phrase through the keys, but if you never actually plug it into a tune, you're actually never going to be able to use it when you're improvising. And you have to practice it so much that you don't have to think about it. That's like another aspect that sometimes we don't talk about enough, is that like there's one thing to like know a line, but then you have to know it so well that it you don't have to think about it. Like I'm just saying, like I was just playing and I just said, okay, here's 5 ways to use this scale to play. Because I don't really think about it in terms of scale, like chord scales and all that. That's like one way to think about it, but it's not really, I think it's a outdated way of thinking about it. The way that I teach jazz improvisation, it's more like it's a language. right? So you learn little bits of vocabulary, you learn words, and then you got to learn where the words go. And you're talking, and you put in those new words into your sentence, and but you have to know the building blocks, right? So we start off and make sure, do you know all your triads? Do you know your seventh chords? Do you know your modes? And even in 4 years, I've yet to find a student that really has mastered all of the triads, all of the seventh chords, up to the 13th, all of the modes of major, melodic minor, harmonic major. Like, people don't have the time to put in the time most of the time, but it's like you got to dig into all those building blocks, and then you can be more free, So I try to get people through as much of it as I can, but there's always, it's always something more to work on, right? Always something more to work on. All right, I think we're caught up on questions here. What's up? I see some more people joining us. Spikes, David, Ethan, what's up? Delvo, Tri-State Sax, what's up? Eric, thanks for joining. We're doing our weekly Q&A, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you've been thinking about. What have you guys been shedding? What have you been listening to? What are you practicing? I want to know all those things. What's up, Jim? Feel free to drop them in the comments here. Next week, if you're in Denton or want to come to Denton, I'm doing a faculty recital of all big band music. So I have a couple of students did arrangements of my tunes. I have some arrangements of my tunes. Stephen Feifke did an arrangement of one of my tunes. A great pianist up in New York. So we're doing that on Tuesday, next week, Tuesday, a week from today. It may or may not be streamed on the UNT site, but if you want to come, if you want to check that out, so that'd be cool. I'm working on some projects with big band stuff, and so it's kind of the first kind of major move forward in getting some big band stuff off the ground for myself. So we'll see how it goes. It's always a work in progress. And then 2 weeks from yesterday, we're doing another live stream, trying to do at least one per month, or not two per month, of concerts here, get some of the students involved and play some of my music. And so we started that last fall, and we're going to continue that on Monday nights as we are available. And we're going to check out Exposition, my first record, and play maybe 4 or 5 tunes from that record. That was like January 31st, I think, would be the date. But yeah, Trevor is learning ugetsu. It's a killing solo. Curtis is so nimble, man. And he does a lot with a little bit of information. He plays that D major scale. I love, ugetsu, the Cedar Walton tunes. They really have like something special about improvising over them. They have like a kind of great playground, like it's a great, yeah, they're fun. And and I find that the way Cedar Walton approaches harmony is kind of like I don't know, an extension, but it like feels so natural, the way he incorporates like all the like bebop type stuff and then into like the more modern modal kind of stuff. And so Cedar Walton to me kind of fits right in the middle, and so a tune like Ugetsu is like, so it's very melodic, but then it's like the harmony does some interesting things, What's up, Paul Deemer? Hope you're good, man. It does some interesting things, moves around. It's got the pedal point section. It's got, it's a good one. It's a good solo. You have to. I have one of my students, Trevor. His name's not Trevor. His name's Trenton. Transcribe the Freddie's solo too, Freddie Hubbard. So if you want a real challenge, that one's it. Curtis's lays really well because Curtis used the trombone to his advantage. That's a great thing about transcribing trombone players. You can kind of find, how to take advantage of the instrument, how it lays well, right? But then get another instrument perspective, and he transcribed Freddie's solo. Man, that one's hard too. Excuse me, got to keep my caffeine intake high to keep the stream rolling along. So so every Tuesday we're here to do answer questions, hang out, talk about trombone. What's up, John? Talk about jazz, talk about music. So feel free to join us every week. It's whatever time is it now? It's 2 Central, so 3 Eastern. And so we'll be here, hopefully most every week. If you think of a question you want to come back, that's all good. But feel free to drop them in the comments. Feel free to drop them in Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're at. I'll find them. What's up, Anna? What's up? I see people joining us. More people joining us. It always comes in waves. People in, people out. People in, people out. People in, people out. But if you didn't know, we're almost up to 100 episodes, and the whole back catalog of episodes of these Q&As are available on YouTube. You can watch the original streams, of them, and we also have edited versions with time codes of all the questions and all the answers, so you can find exactly what you're looking for. You don't gotta just watch me ramble on forever and ever. You can go exactly right to where you want, and all of that stuff is available on the YouTube channel. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Isn't that what people say? I never say that in my videos, but I do have a goal of subscribers, getting the subscribers up. So it's like I usually don't ever think about getting the subscribers up on YouTube. I just kind of throw stuff up there and hope to share. But I'm trying to get that happening. So if you're not, head over there and you can find a lot of stuff from the last couple of years. I've been focusing a lot on getting educational content up there on YouTube. But speaking of that, this is really exciting. The Jazz Trombone Day from November, we just started being able to share all the events from Jazz Trombone Day. So we just shared the master class that Ido Meshulam did from November. He did a great masterclass on using kind of like limitations almost over aerogen. And so there's a full video of that whole masterclass, and that came out on Friday. So every Friday for the next 7 weeks or so, you'll see those coming out on the YouTube channel. So that'll be great if you want to. There's masterclasses. There's one with TJ Norris and Jeffrey Miller coming, and then concerts from all the finalists, DJ Rice, Sam Rowley, Joe Giordano, and Jack Courtwright all had a set of music that we're sharing. So that's exciting. Those things are coming up. And I see a question here from Kevin. What's up, Kevin? Hope you're doing well. He asked, do you ever play trad jazz or anything from that style? Yeah, sure. Definitely, there was a phase I was playing a bunch of trad jazz gigs in New York. And I was just saying that there's a couple of trad jazz records. There's a Kid Ory record up here, and there's a Jack Teagarden record up here. So I mean, you learn a lot if you go and check out Kid Ory and Miff Mall, about orchestration, about finding a way for the trombone to fit into the ensemble, playing counterpoint with the trumpet and the clarinet or saxophone or whatever. Like, it's a whole different skill. It's a whole different type of improvisation when you're really thinking about, like, how does what I'm playing fit into the macro? It's not just my solo, right? It's like your solo, but also like everything's happening around you. It's not just you. So there's some singers that I played with. There's a group called the Hot Sardines that I played with a couple times. I mean, Postmodern Jukebox, for lack of a better way to put it, when it started, we played trad jazz stuff over tunes or over pop tunes, and that's kind of how that whole thing started. And it was just like tailgating and plunger and all kinds of things. But and it's something I always go back to. Like Lawrence Brown, who played with Ellington's band, was like an amazing virtuoso trombonist that didn't play that way at all. He's like super clean and clear and beautiful, but also part of that like trad jazz, early jazz kind of thing, But I guess most people usually think of like Kid Ory, Tailgate, Gut Bucket, et cetera, et cetera. But there's so much good stuff there. If you want to learn to play like all that New Orleans type stuff, like that people would call New Orleans jazz or traditional jazz, it kind of gets mixed up. It's not really like a very clear thing to say, But yeah, when I was like, when I was in grad school, there was like a whole renaissance of like having people play quote unquote trad jazz, whatever that means. I think it's more of like a nostalgia, than it is like really about the music. I remember I went to Dubai to play a party, and it was like a Great Gatsby themed party. And that's when that movie, there was like a a Gatsby movie that had come out. We played a New Year's party. It was the craziest party I ever been to in Dubai. Anyway, so anyway, I learned a lot from playing trad jazz. I've had a lot of different experiences from being able to do it. It's definitely something that you got to dig into and learn. And my approach to like learning jazz on trombone is to go to the middle and work outwards. So by that, I kind of falls into like middle of the repertoire is kind of maybe not quite chronologically the middle, but kind of like bebop, JJ, slide, Curtis. And then you go forward, and there's great people to check out. All the people now: Steve Davis, Steve DeRay, Clifton Anderson, later Slide Hampton. There's lots that way. And then backwards, we get into the swing era, and then get into even maybe some of the later trombone players that played with like Louis Armstrong, like Trummy Young, played with him later on. And then you go backwards, you go Lawrence Brown, of course, you got Vic Dickinson, you've got all these cats, go all the way back to like Dickie Wells and Miff Mole and Kid Ory. And so that's kind of how I approach it, is we kind of go in the middle, and then once you got that kind of squared away, then it's like, all right, well, let's go backwards a little bit. All right, let's go forwards. And then we kind of try to get that whole gamut. But my really good friend, Joe McDonough, who I did a two trombone record with, if you want to look that up on Spotify, he got super into trad jazz, super into Miff Mole, and he was like on a JJ kick the whole time I've ever known him. And then like right after college, he got super, right when we're talking about trad jazz. Perfect. Hope your wrist is feeling better. Anyway, I digress. Here's a question from John. Hi, John. He mentions Ito's density / energy matrix. Yep. Are there any approaches you take to expand a solo? I'm not exactly sure what you mean there. Maybe you can elaborate on that question, John. Any approaches you take to expand a solo? So what he's talking about is that masterclass I mentioned, Ito Meshulam. His masterclass is on YouTube now from the Jazz Trombone Day. He was talking about density versus complexity in your solo in terms of ideas, in terms of tension release, in terms of volume, and using like this matrix of like simple to complex, dense to sparse to dense, which is a very interesting way to think about it. But yeah, maybe you can elaborate on what you mean by the question. I'm not exactly sure. I intuitively know what he meant, but I've never put it in context that way, which I thought was a good way to put it. What's up, Fred? Question over here on Instagram. Hey, Abel. Learning alto trombone for a month. Ugh. Any tips? Yeah, just think about it as a different instrument. If you think about it trying to be too much like the trombone, the regular trombone, or it becomes screws with your mind a little bit, I think. And so viewing it as like, oh, here, it's a separate instrument, has a separate sound, a separate slide. My problem is I just always go too far with that. Who can play a good jazz alto trombone? Oh, what's the cat's name? He's in Phoenix. Michael. He plays great alto jazz trombone, and he has a whole YouTube channel and everything. I forget his last name. I can see his face in my mind. Anyway, and also Deese. He plays a good jazz alto trombone. From Connor here. Recently got a Pixie Mute. Nice. Any good tips on how to practice and use it effectively? Sure. Chuck nailed it. Mike Lake. There you go. Yes, I have my Pixie Mute here as well. So a couple initial tips about Pixie Mute stuff. Okay, so this is Pixie Mute. It's not as good as the Pixie Mute that I used to have. I left it on a gig somewhere and it's gone. But one is to make sure you shave down the corks to make sure that it fits into your trombone properly. And how do I know how far to put it in? Well, you have to have your plunger and it has to go all the way closed, right? So you want to make sure your trombone, it goes far enough in that it can be all the way closed. Now, People might fight me about this, but there used to be like a little piece in the end here. You can take it out with a screwdriver with like a flathead. Don't injure yourself, please. Disclaimer: don't injure yourself by doing this. But you can kind of take it out with a flathead screwdriver. And I find it rings. It's a little more resonant without that piece in there. So that's the setup questions. How to get so you got to do that, and then you got to learn to use the pixie and the plunger as an extension of your jaw, as a vowel sound. Thinking about what is the vowel sound you're trying to make. And so there's a whole system of vowel sounds that I learned from Steve Ray. If you want to have a lesson sometime, we can go over it. It's too long. It would take me an hour to go through the whole thing with you right now. But vowel sounds, transcribe some solos, try to find the sounds. I like Lawrence Brown on Sweet and Pungent is the name of the track. And that's a pixie mute plunger solo. Technically, I think he's using a non-Perel trumpet straight mute, but Sweet and Pungent, Lawrence Brown. That's what Wycliffe sent me on my first lesson with Wycliffe. He's like, oh, check this out. If it's good enough for him, I guess it's probably good enough for me. Okay, so going back to John's question, using the matrix to come up with material while soloing, do you have anything when you feel like you're running out of ideas but you need to keep on playing? Yeah, Ito puts it very well, so I'm not going to try to like reframe what Ito said. So go watch that video if you want to check out what Ito was talking about, this density matrix. But for me, if I have to keep on playing and I'm running out of ideas, I try to listen more and I try to take ideas. I take specific time in my practice to like, what does it mean to develop an idea, to expand on an idea? How many choruses can I play with one idea? Which is similar to what he was talking about. It's using the information that you have and developing it rather than trying to come up with something new every time. That's how you run out of ideas. It's like, I have to come up with something new, something new. Like there's not enough new stuff, at least in my experience, to like keep it going that way. So you have to think about, how do I develop an idea? So what does that mean? Well, it means expansion, contraction, or they say like diminution and expansion in like classical music. Or it's like, okay, what if I play this backwards? What if I use just the intervals? What if I use just the rhythm? What if I change the rhythm? Same notes. What if I play in a different register? What if? That's kind of my thing. Like, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if I did this? But specifically like a matrix like that, I'm not that organized. Ito he's on another level mentally. But yeah, I try to listen more and I try to take ideas and play with the band, especially if I'm like, I have nothing to say. What am I going to do to make something musical? I pose the question, what does the music need right now? You've probably heard me say that before. And then I try to go there. It might not be what I think it should be. The band might have another idea and I try to go with the band, It's not all about me. Excuse me. All right. Some more things here. Trenton, have you discovered any music lately that excited you? Tips for getting a fresh outlook when you're in a rut, listening wise. Oh man, I don't know that I've heard anything new recently that's gotten me excited. I guess I haven't been listening to that much music, What gets me out of a rut, though, I can answer that question, is I go back to my favorite records when I'm in a rut. And I remember what I like about them, or what I like about music, or what got me excited about those records. And then I can kind of go off from there. But going back to the records you love, man, that's what I think. That's what helps me to get out of a rut. A listening rut, a playing rut, any kind of rut. Going back to the records I love, listening to them again, remembering how I fell in love with that record. That's a good way to start for me. Yeah. Kevin says, check out Ray Anderson. That'll give you some new stuff to listen to. I'm sure you've probably heard Ray Anderson before, Trenton. Okay, Fred has a question. I have a bass trombone, single trigger. I would love to get more clarity when I play, but I ended buying a tenor trombone because I don't know what should practice to get it. I play salsa style. Yeah, playing salsa on a bass trombone is going to be pretty hard. I would recommend playing a tenor for sure. what should you practice? You should practice your trombone fundamentals, because the stronger you are at the fundamentals of the trombone, the more things you'll be able to play when it comes time. So the fundamentals are your sound, your flexibility, and your articulation. So sound first, maybe articulation second, and flexibility. So when I say flexibility, I don't just mean lip slurs. I mean being able to do whatever you need to do when you need to do it. And it means a variety of things. It means knowing your scales, knowing your intervals, being able to play quickly, slowly, cleanly, legato, staccato. Like, that's flexibility to me. That's why it's kind of like articulation is in there too, you know. But so practice the fundamentals, man. It doesn't matter whether you play a bass trombone with a single trigger, double trigger, tenor trombone. If you're going to play salsa, you got to have good endurance. So you want to play for a long time. You got to work on the upper register. A lot of that music involves the upper register. It involves, you know, like clean attacks. It involves like a little bit of intensity, pushing, you know, on top of the time, all that sort of stuff. So the horn really has nothing to do with it. Like, what horn you play doesn't make much of a difference on what you should practice. You got to be good at the trombone first. That's what I always say. You know, whether you want to play jazz, you want to play funk, you want to play fusion, you want to play whatever you want to play. If you can't play the instrument first, the trombone will not allow you to freely improvise or play in any other genre. Like, you got to just play the trombone. And mostly that gets associated with, you know, Western classical music. And so maybe that means playing classical. Maybe it means getting, you might have missed the beginning of our conversation about the Arbutus Book, but, you know, getting the Arbutus Book and playing some stuff out of there, getting the Rochus and just playing Rochus. Playing Rochus in different registers, you know. I probably sound like a broken record, but it's like there's no magic formula. You just work on the fundamentals. You expand your knowledge of harmony and language, and that just helps you develop as a musician, and it helps you develop your opinions and your perspective, and it helps you develop your identity as a musician through all of that knowledge and through the fundamentals. So it doesn't matter what kind of music you're playing or what horn you play. You always have to work on the same things. And if you have good fundamentals, you can play whatever you want, you know, and then we can work on the details of playing the altered scale over a C7. Because if you don't have good fundamentals, it doesn't matter, because I won't be able to understand what you're saying, what you're playing over that altered scale if it's not clean and clear, you know. So anywho, I think we got time for maybe one more question if anybody wants to drop something in last minute here. I see some people have come in and gone out. What's up, Caleb, Philip, Eric, Humberto? Thanks for your question, Connor. Thanks for your questions and comments, Kevin and Trenton and Fred, John, of course, Richard, BJ. Glad you could all stop by today. I'll just riff for another minute, see if anyone else drops in a question before we wrap it up for today. But like I said, we'll be back in a week, next Tuesday around 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be back on. I got that big band recital on Tuesday, and then the week after we'll be back exploring music from Exposition, and yeah, so that's what's happening in my world. I hope all is well in your world. I hope you're having a nice beginning to this year, even though it's still what it is. And I hope that we can get through it together quickly. So, all right. I see no more questions coming in, so I'm going to log off for today, and I'll catch you all next week.